Cool.
Awesome.
And we are broadcasting. So welcome. I just almost called you Ray there. That's fucked up. Welcome, Ryan Hurley, to our Toking Today podcast. This is the original, this is the official first live from the Toking Today page. So I've been building it up, and now officially you are our first official Toking Today guest.
Right on.
So welcome, Ryan Hurley. Yay. Woo.
I appreciate it.
Our whole studio crowd cheering for you. I need that button to.
Oh, you do? Get some sound effects?
Yeah. I have some memes and some other little sound effects. I got like a boom.
Oh, nice. Do you that? Wah, wah, wah.
You know, I'm lazy.
I wish I had that one in my life.
I need
soundtrack.
that. Yes.
Right?
I need the Larry David. Just the yeah, because that does happen. So let's introduce Ryan. Yes, Ryan. Let's introduce Ryan a little bit. We go way back, even though I don't know his name. We have known each other since about 2013.
Yeah.
It's been in the industry as we both grew up into this industry, and seeing each other come along. I want to kind of divulge into where you started and now where you're at today, because man, I've seen this thing just take off for you from being a corporate lawyer for dispensaries and being knowledgeable and sharing your knowledge to now you're the corporate lawyer for the ultimate marijuana grow. So.
Yeah.
Introduce our audience to yourself, who might not know you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my name's Ryan Hurley. I'm an attorney in town. I'm born and raised in Phoenix. Spent some time in Tucson going to school, and I had a couple of areas of practice before I got into the cannabis. I did some stuff with land use and zoning and real estate, some environmental law as well.
Oh, so that came into play.
Yeah. And then I did some solar stuff as well.
Okay.
Kind of a weird path to get where I am. But then in 2010, the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act passed. I had gotten to know the campaign manager at the time, Andrew Myers, and became friends with him, read through the act, and thought, man, if this thing passes, which, all polls were pointing to the fact that it was going to, they're going to need a lot of help, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity here. Mm-hmm. That's right when Colorado was starting to get going, and, it was starting to think that maybe you really could make a business out of this and not go to jail.
Yeah.
And through a confluence of some other factors, the other areas of business had dried up for me at the time, and I went from doing solar to cannabis stuff, and it's the background kind of overlapped a lot.
Uh-huh.
I did a lot of regulatory law, so I lobbied at this legislature a lot. I did a lot of land use and zoning, which every dispensary and grow needed.
Right.
And then at the solar stuff, I did a little bit of corporate work as well, and then the water law was all environmental. So I like to say that I had the water, the dirt, and now I got the plant.
Wow. So you had the ultimate background for this, though, just to open up. Now, were you a cannabis advocate before this? Were you a proponent of cannabis?
Yeah. So I was, in high school, I was pretty straight laced. Didn't really do much of anything. Very Nancy Reagan, just say no.
Yeah.
And then I get to college, and I guess it was probably like my sophomore, junior year of college. I smoked for the first time, and it was awesome. And I was like, why? What's the big deal? Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, we are live on the internet. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Right
it is open to the world.
Yes. And it was like, what's the big fucking deal? I was in college, so everybody was drinking themselves to near oblivion every weekend, and I didn't know it at the time. I suffered from migraines really bad from 7th grade, like debilitating. I'd be out of commission for 24, 48 hours type of migraines. And then magically in my sophomore year of college, they kind of started going away. And they were getting less and less severe and less frequent. And I didn't really put two and two together until much later on when, people started talking about medical marijuana. It was like, fuck, man, that's me. I'm a patient, and I didn't even know it.
So you weren't smoking regularly, but you would notice that when you did smoke, you weren't having the
occasionally, and then as my senior year of college started to be a little bit more regular, and
gotcha.
It became a real good. What I realized I was managing my stress.
Yeah,
that's when my migraine triggered was stress. I was type A, and really internalized everything, and so I was just a stress case, and cannabis helped me manage it.
Well, that's amazing. We hear it all the time, especially in the dispensaries from the patients. But it's good to know that the people behind the dispensaries are patients too. That people that are actually taking these to the court cases and saying, "Hey, this is medicine," are using it for medicine, because that's a really big part. You always hear, "Don't trust the dealer who doesn't smoke."
For sure,
same
right?
thing, I want to make sure that my dispensaries are behind it using their products too, which is awesome to hear that you're a patient too. That
Thank you.
You care about the plant, not just the money or or the reason that you're employed, but the actual patience behind it too.
For sure. And I attribute a lot of my success to that, and to being able to sort of bridge the gap between the money guys and the plant guys. And I think that the vast majority of people that have been successful in this business have a respect for the plant one way or another. I've seen it time and time again. If you are just here for nothing more than the money, you're going to have a hard time. I don't know what it is. It's good plant karma maybe, but it certainly has enabled me to be successful. And I'm glad to be able to play that role.
So the Cannabis Act, the AMA, the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act. I didn't say that wrong, right?
No, you got it.
Yeah,
AMA, yeah.
All right, medical
I'm
marijuana.
try your blackberry kush.
Please
here.
do. Right. So that passes. Now, were you involved with the writing of the bill at all, or?
So no, I came to it. The Prop 203, which was called at the time, was fully baked. It was all written. I started working on it in, I suppose, July of 2010. It was voted in on November of 2010.
Right. Okay.
But like I said, I got to know the campaign manager, and so he gave me a copy of the initiative, and I wrote an early on a check donated to it, and read through the thing, and I just realized what an enormous opportunity it was. So I was able to get involved with it before that. We did a little bit of work to make sure it got passed. If you'll recall, there was like a 4-week period where they were counting votes because it was so close.
Yeah.
We went down there. I convinced Rose Law Group to park an associate down there and make sure that every single vote got counted, because we were relying on those provisional ballots and those mail-in ballots, and it's real easy for somebody to say, oh, that signature doesn't look right, and I'm going to toss this. So we were down there counting everything, every ballot, making sure that it got passed, and then from there I started working on the rules with DHS.
How much did it pass by?
It was 4,000 votes out of 2.5 million.
That's literally the vote you guys counted, though. I mean, that's,
because when on election night it was behind by I don't know how much, but 40,000 votes, something like that. It was dying. And it was all the provisional ballots. Like to think my cannabis folks, they show up a little bit late sometimes. But those provisional ballots came through, and it squeaked out. Yeah.
Wow,
it was crazy.
That's amazing, and passed by 4,000. That's why we're able to have this blackberry kush today, is because we're both patients, and we got it from the medical marijuana dispensary, and we can sit here and talk about it and talk today. So thank you for counting those votes and having a Rose Law Group there. Yeah,
and thanks for the people of Arizona for doing the right thing. It was. It's funny though. I mean, Arizona had passed medical marijuana twice before,
right?
And the legislature decided that the people didn't know what the hell they were doing. And
isn't that crazy?
Tried to undo it, and that led to the Voter Protection Act, which makes sure that when the voters speak now, their will gets implemented. So,
now, as a lawyer, I mean, what makes you just not take the handful of pills and say fuck it? I mean, what's the point anymore? When they do stupid shit like that, I mean, do you just have to get up and say, okay, now we gotta fight this again, or do you scream out loud like, what the fuck?
It's tough, man. Sometimes, getting back up, and you got to look at the long game. I mean, and what's important is to look at the victories when you do get them. And I've been fortunate. I worked in some areas that were kind of at inflection points, like the solar stuff and the cannabis stuff. But every single year, it's just when the legislature gets in, it's like, all right, what are these guys going to try to do to us now? And if it weren't for the Voter Protection Act, I mean, it'd have been the medical marijuana program would be nothing.
Never happened again.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
that's amazing. So the Voter Protection Act. So for those who aren't knowledgeable about this, so 96, we voted cannabis in, and then the local Congress,
the state legislature
turns that down. They say nope, that's not going to happen. So we had to go back in as citizens and say, okay, we're going to vote that you cannot do that unless it's for the provision or the
to further the purpose. So, and that was actually a constitutional amendment that the Arizona voters passed.
To the Arizona Constitution.
Yeah, and it was actually funded by the same people that funded the original medical marijuana initiative.
Because they were tired of that.
Because they were sick of it. They spent all this money to get something passed by the voters, and then the legislature just undoes it with a stroke of a pen.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So now, because of that, we have this ability to say, okay, what we say is law now.
Yeah.
Is that anywhere else? Does this happen in other states?
No, it's a good question. I think there might be a couple other states, maybe one or two that have something similar, but nothing Nothing as established and as protective as Arizona is. So,
So other
really
states,
is unique. Yeah.
wow. So other states can still turn down. They can still go against the vote.
Yeah,
This is
they
still
can they
possible.
can modify their initiatives.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
other states should be pushing for a voter initiative act.
Yeah, I mean, so like Maine, for example,
Uh-huh.
right? Maine passed recreational marijuana in 2016 through the ballot box and the initiative. You still can't go buy recreational marijuana in
Wow.
Maine because the legislature's been monkeying around with trying to figure out licensing and all that stuff for 3 years now.
Wow. So even if they have it, they can still put wrenches in it and
Yeah.
whatnot. So are there cannabis attorneys up there you talk to in the industry? Or
Not Maine specifically. I just kind of follow that one in the trades, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you know, one of the cool things about having worked in this industry and as a lawyer early on, there was a really good network of really cool people, really interesting attorneys that were
Oh.
very willing to share their knowledge and very welcoming and all throughout the country. I don't know if I ever met one from Maine, but you know, lots of other states. It's been cool.
Well, that is I mean, it's interesting that you know how one state can affect the whole nation like that. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
how
all
it trickles.
California, baby.
Yeah,
Right? They're the
it's-
OGs.
Well, because you know, they passed it in '96 also.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah. And theirs went through,
Yeah.
and they just kept on trickling, pushing it. And you know, Oregon, Washington, you know, they started catching on. Colorado, they all start picking up, and then bam, it just.
Yeah.
Now these other states are passing it, but they're not pushing it through. You know,
Right.
it's
Well, and then, but I mean, you see even some of the pioneer states, like California's having all sorts of issues right now, you know?
yeah. And the crazy thing, we got into a cab last year, and we were talking about the rec. Well, it was just before the rec actually got legal, so it
Okay.
was probably a year and a half before that. So. We were in a cab and we're like, oh, so is it legal yet? Can you go get it? And he's like, no, it's still medical, and besides, medical's pretty much legal anyways.
Right.
And he's sitting there talking about these aren't patients I'm dropping off, and that I took a guy there, he didn't look sick at all, he's just getting weed. So the mindset of this cab driver was still very it's not good. You know,
Right,
he's very anti-cannabis, and he was talking about the people he's dropping off, you know, as being drug users.
Right,
And drug,
right.
So even the stigma still to this day is very, very close-minded. And I don't know why it's so big. As you look on the streets, there's a lot of people very into drugs.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
just sitting around being homeless right now. But then you know the opposite end of it, they're very, very close-minded. So.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I mean, we've come a long way, but yeah, I mean that stigma is strong and it persists. And you know, early on when I was doing a lot of zoning cases for those dispensaries, I could tell you there's nothing more than a politician, a public politician that loves than a pun, a good marijuana pun, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we're gonna get out the Cheetos every time a marijuana case would come up.
Yeah.
They'd make some sort of joke. And I'd say, yeah, you know, or we could talk about the folks with debilitating MS whose lives
Sure.
this is saving.
Yes.
And, you know, you can see all of them kind of shut up after that.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's talk about this for what it is.
Talk about the patients, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. And you know, pharmaceuticals are killing people every freaking day. You see
Yeah.
it all the time, and then you see these people turning things around. Even with the help of pharmaceuticals, even you know, with the cannabis, you don't need nearly as much. You know, a lot of times, you know, you do them both, and it's amazing what this plant can do if you really give it its chance. And you see us hitting it today. You know, we don't look sick. Well, it's because we're hitting it today. You know,
You know, I kind of struggled with this early on, a little bit of my career. And I had this aha moment. I was at one of the early cannabis conferences, and I got to sit next to Steve D'Angelo, you know, founder of Harborside,
Yeah.
and, you know, modern cannabis godfather.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was asking him about the difference between recreational and medical, and he's of the mindset, and he told me at the time, almost everybody's cannabis use is medical.
Yeah.
And you know, whether they know it or not, they're using it for a medical purpose. And you think about it, you know, wellness, right, requires you to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Wellness requires you not to be stressed,
Yeah.
requires you to have human connection, all these things that cannabis can help you with. It's a preventative, right?
Yes.
And it's a part of at least a part of my wellness routine,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So, you know, you can take a look at me and think that I'm not sick, but you don't see the migraines that are going on
Exactly.
when I'm freaking out at work, you
Right.
know?
It's definitely maintaining control. I definitely notice it when I don't have it more than I notice it when I do have it.
For sure.
And that's really the main thing is I'm good today because I have it today.
Yeah.
When I don't have it today, I definitely feel the aches, the pains,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
missing
my
tonight.
stress builds up. I don't sleep as well. You know, I get grumpier.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely not as nice to be around for sure. So now you started off. Was Encanto Green Cross your first client in the medical marijuana industry?
No, my first was actually Arizona Organics.
Okay, so they were the first.
Yeah.
And so you got right in there.
Yeah, yeah, they were there early on, and they were that was. I remember the day they opened up, man. It was a circus. USA Today was there, and all the news trucks, and had a line around the corner, and it was crazy. Yeah.
So first medical marijuana dispensary legalized in Arizona to open, but we already had these compassion clubs around.
Yeah.
Now, you as the attorney for the dispensary there in Organics, now there were some compassion clubs around there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have to get involved with getting them moved, or how?
Yeah. So there was never really, you know, it was such an interesting time, right? Because the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act never really contemplated compassion clubs, right? The way that the drafters put in caregivers was and home grow was a failsafe in case the Arizona powers that be tried to monkey around with the dispensary program, which they did, right? They spent a lot of time trying to sue to stop that rollout. It was intended as a failsafe for sick people to be able to get their medication, right? And the first compassion club, I think, that opened up was on Thomas, right, for the VFW in that area.
Oh, the farmers market.
Yeah. And it was really, true to its purpose. It was, hey, we're growing this medication. We're going to provide it to you at a non-profit basis. We're not going to make any money.
Right.
And then, people saw that the cops kind of laid off those guys, and then it just metastasized.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got people driving in from California with pounds and pounds and setting up farmers markets and taking $60 donations for an eighth. And It's like, all right, well, this isn't exactly what was intended. And at the same time, we were facing all these repeal efforts from the Arizona legislature, right? There was one legislator in particular who's still down there, Kavanaugh. He's an ex-New York cop, and he's a prohibitionist, and he is a cannabis hater. And he thinks the voters were duped, and they didn't know what they were doing.
Wow.
And by God, he's going to file a bill to repeal the initiative. And, the way he was going to do it was clever. He was going to do a referendum. So pass it through the legislature, put it on the ballot again for the voters to vote on, right? So it would have just held everything up for 2 years waiting for that election to see whether the voters changed their mind or not.
Wow.
And it was early on. Like I said, we'd only won by 4,000 votes. So it was a delicate time. And then at the same time, we're trying to stop this. They're saying, well, look, I've got a dispensary down my street that's unlicensed, that's selling stuff that is clearly from California. What the hell? And we're saying, well, that's not us. That wasn't the dispensary program. And, so it was a conflicted time. And then at one point, the police finally started doing something about it.
Yeah.
And I think there were a couple of folks that tried to urge the Department of Health Services to do something about it, but they were basically like, hey, this is not our jurisdiction. We're supposed to be here to regulate the licensed dispensaries. We're not cops. So
Wow. So
but yeah, at some point the police decided to take it on themselves to go after those folks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now we're still seeing a couple of unlicensed deliveries pop up here and there. So it's still not a totally regulated market. Huh?
No, I mean look, alcohol prohibition didn't end in a day, right? There's still a few people out there that bootleg, I'm sure, here and there, but it takes a while to transition into a regulated system. But the best thing that could have happened for that to happen was to allow businesses to flourish, right? When I first started doing this, the first dispensary that opened up, I mean, it was $60 for an eighth, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and you only had eighths. There was no grams.
Right?
There was no,
You go buy an eighth for 60, that's what you got.
Yeah.
And that was basically what it was like beforehand, right? In the black market, that was pretty much, they were right in that same neighborhood. But now, I mean, you can go buy an ounce for $100 sometimes, right? $100 for popcorn.
Well, this is $120 ounce we're smoking here.
There you go. Yeah. So that's the best thing that could have happened. It's like, why, there's no market incentive now for a black market because you can't make the profit margin. So So that's the best thing that could have happened, and ultimately the only way that the black market's ever going to get shut down is to just make the legal market more and more competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, with the legal market being more and more competitive, you're talking about bigger grows, more quality plants, and just I mean, it takes time. It takes harvests to do that. I heard there's only like 60 harvests left on the soil in general. Are you guys seeing this with your topsoil issues?
So I mean, we do new soil in every pot.
Okay.
Yeah. So
so you guys all indoor, or is there an outdoor
so
too?
we're a greenhouse.
Okay.
It's an old tomato and cucumber greenhouse that we retrofitted. But we use.
I know we just jumped a big gap in time there.
Yeah.
But
we did for sure. Yeah. So now I'm general counsel after having represented all these dispensaries for a year. About 2 years ago, I jumped.
We'll jump back into that. Let's go back. Let's go back to
go back in time.
Yeah. Let's stay.
Reminisce some more.
Yeah. Let's get back to 2013. They're closing down the compassion clubs that were bringing the stuff from California.
Some of them got a pass for whatever reason.
Some of them got licenses, but
yeah, that too. Yeah.
But so you're with Arizona Organics. They're the first ones. They got $6 eights. There's a line out the door. They're opening. What's the reception of the people coming in and getting the $6 eights now when they come into the store?
I mean, that's the interesting thing is you spend a day there and it was people from all walks of life. I mean, it was all sorts of different patients, lots in wheelchairs and canes, and those folks were the most grateful because now they had someplace that they knew for a fact was safe, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I remember going to some of those compassion clubs, checking them out and see what was around. And it was like, man, this isn't safe. I don't know who these guys are. I don't know where this product came from. So a lot of those guys were the older folks in particular were real happy. Okay. But then early on, those guys, Arizona Organics, had a guy dealing out of their parking lot.
Really?
Yeah. He would say, "Hey, I'll beat him by $5 before they will try to walk in."
So was that something that you guys had to prosecute, or did they?
Yeah, we called the cop. Well, we went him to said, "Hey, buddy, you got to move it on down the road," or what do you think? You can't do that.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you worked for Arizona Organics? We opened up Herbal Wellness Center in August of 2013. When did you guys open up?
So that would have been, let's see, it was December of 12 when Arizona Organics opened.
You're a full 8 months ahead of us.
Yeah. And it was like literally we were still waiting for the Montgomery decision, for the White Mountain decision. Yeah. And my advice was don't do anything until that decision comes down. And, there were some pioneering business folks at that time, and they had a lot riding on it, and they just decided, hey, I'm going to open, and Bill Montgomery, you want to come arrest me? Go for it.
Right.
So I give those guys mad props, man. That took a lot of balls. And against the advice of their conservative attorney.
You put all that time and effort and money and everything into that, and you sit there with the doors closed, and you got the employees, and you had
that is exactly right.
Every one of these employees costs $550 a license.
Yep.
Then you have to pay them by the hour. And,
rent and electricity. Exactly. And they just decided, let's pull the trigger, see what happens.
Yeah, so you got to get it out there. I totally agree. And then Encano opened up. They were the second ones, and you ended up working with them too?
Yeah, I did some work with Encano for a while. Okay. Yeah, they were great guys. I love Nick and Chris were awesome.
Right.
I'm bummed they got out of the industry, but I think they did okay. So
Doug was on here a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I got to watch a little bit of that. Doug's a great guy.
Yeah, he's got a new nano. If he's watching, hopefully. He's got a new nano process he's doing with his THC and CBD stuff. So
cool.
He's got his own little projects going. So it's pretty cool to see everybody in the new level.
Right. So, it's version 2.0.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the 2.0. So you went from these Arizona Organics was the first, but it definitely wasn't the largest or anything by any means. I saw back in November 2018 that you guys were deemed the largest greenhouse in America.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
It is, if not the, we're one of the. Wow. Yeah. It's a 40-acre greenhouse. I mean, it's enormous.
This is all enclosed?
Yeah, it's all Dutch style, organic, organic tomato and cucumber production, and it looks like a big H. You can see it from the satellite pictures.
Wow.
And if you happen to fly from Phoenix to Albuquerque, take a look outside your plane, you'll see it. I mean, words can't really do justice. You got to go visit, and it's we got 2 enormous wells with a ton of water tanks, and I mean, you get your 10,000 steps just walking around very easily.
Yeah.
And we're only producing out of approximately half of it right now.
So you guys have a lot of expansion to do still.
Yeah.
Wow. How many employees do you have running that?
So we're up to 300 total enterprise-wide throughout the company.
From seed to management, there's
up to all the way through the dispensary. But up at the farm, I think they're at about 240 now.
Oh
250.
wow! So most of it is on the on the ground there.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Well, that's pretty cool. So now, are you guys doing seeds to mothers and then cloning the mothers?
Yep.
And then, okay.
Yeah. And we did some genetic stuff on our own, and then we also entered into a partnership with DNA.
Uh-huh.
So I'm real excited about that, getting some awesome DNA genetics
Right
that are specific to us and nobody else, and we'll be launching those here pretty soon.
That's cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
we're really
so you guys
excited
have
about
got a lot of new strains coming out. Are you doing any classic ones too?
For sure. Yeah. We started off, I think, with 150 different strains that we were trying to grow, and since then we've kind of culled it down to about 60. Still a lot. Yeah. And it's hard because they're giant rooms. It's not like we've got a 3,000 square foot room for one strain, right?
Yeah.
We got a huge one strain, one row, which is 100 plants or so.
Wow.
So
there's a lot of good. Now, are you guys doing artificial lights and natural light too?
Yeah, they do a little bit of LED on the veg side, and then on the flower side, it's we got blackout curtains, so it's perpetual harvest. And then just this summer, we did a natural light cycle on the south half of the facility. So it's basically 2 20-acre halves, separated by support buildings and the wells and stuff like that. So we started out in 1/4 of the facility, retrofitting that into half veg and not quite half, but and then a bunch of flower rooms that are there. And then on the south side, this summer we just planted a bunch of plants and let them roll.
Wow.
And we're pulling that harvest down. Now I think we just finished pulling that harvest down. It was a lot of biomass.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, being a cucumber place before, obviously they didn't have to worry about night and day and all that stuff. So now controlling the lights and the atmosphere, was that tricky?
Yeah. So yes, it is, and we had to retrofit a little bit. We built some walls to separate mother and prop and veg and the flower rooms. We had to put the blackout curtains in. You had to hang the LED lights in veg. The environmental controls were already there, so that was nice, and all the irrigation was there and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of retrofitting was there, a little bit of adding some new stuff, and then a couple years of trying to figure out how the place worked.
Yeah. Was it a big cost deficit to try? I mean, was there a lot of trial and error?
Yeah, for sure.
Investors starting to panic, or were you feeling the pressure? Or
I think it's like everybody else in this industry. I mean, I said it from the beginning when I first started doing talks about the marijuana industry and how to get into it. It was, hey man, take your budget and triple it, and take your timeline and double it, because it's going to take you longer and way more money than you ever think it's going to.
So expectations were set.
A little bit. I think there was still some, hey, you grow, we'll just grow it and they will come. And one of our founders was had a lot of experience growing tomatoes, and so in very large scale commercial agriculture. So had that piece down, but cannabis is very, very different. We're growing a very delicate ornamental flower in 40, 50, 60 different strains, where when you're growing tomatoes, it's a genetically identical plant that you're getting from from a reputable seed company. You know exactly what they want. You throw them in a box, and the price is the price, and you sell them. So a little different.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I definitely can see the trials and the errors coming up. Now, you say you guys have a lot of water tanks coming in. I saw there's an environmental concern with the waters going out. What kind of issues did you guys have with the wastewaters and that type of stuff?
It's interesting because ADEQ tried to make an issue out of it, but at the end, when we pointed them to the fact that we are agriculture, there's nothing different than our agricultural runoff than anybody else's.
It's the same nutrients, same water.
It's high in nitrate, right? That's the same problem that every agricultural production facility has. Your water comes out after you put all the fertilizers in. It comes out slightly high in nitrate.
Sure.
But guess what? Arizona law exempts agricultural runoff
Oh, wow.
from those types of problems.
Yeah.
And as long as we can demonstrate that we're not actually damaging anybody's drinking water,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's a lot of farming that goes on around us. There's a huge golf course right next to us that uses a lot of fertilizer
Definitely,
as well.
definitely.
So basically we looked and said, look, this is not us. We use a fraction of the fertilizers that the tomato facility used to, that the golf facility did.
So they came and tested some ground, and they came and targeted you, is what?
Well, what actually happened is we had a couple of disgruntled employees that we had to let go for various reasons, and they decided that they were going to try to make our lives a living hell, and they called every regulator they could. And,
I gotcha.
when a regulator gets a complaint, particularly in a new field like cannabis, they're interested, and they want to come in and take a look at the facility. They don't know what we're using, So we let them. We invited them in. We were very cooperative with them, and we showed them all our facility, and thankfully we're just about done wrapping up that whole process. And
Good.
what we've decided to do is, as a voluntary measure, when we bring on the rest of the greenhouse, is you can create a little natural bioreactor with, I think it's like wood chips or something like that, and you just put that in line where we have a irrigation ditch that runs off.
Through that.
Yeah, it runs through that, and it mitigates a lot of the nitrates. So,
Interesting.
but we're doing that on a purely voluntary, we want to be good neighbors basis, not because it's required by law.
Oh, very cool. So nobody's telling you to do it. You're just doing it.
Exactly.
Preemptive or pre.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, the right
Preemptively.
word is, there it is.
Yeah, we
Let
want
me
to
get another hit.
We want to be good neighbors up in Snowflake. It's a small town, where they were I think a little reticent at first to have medical marijuana in their town. It's a very heavily LDS community, and we wanted to make sure from day one we've been good neighbors with Snowflake, and they've been a great partner for us, and it's been really cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the community's coming up. It's coming together.
Yeah, I mean, we employ more people up there now than everybody else but Walmart and the county. So we're like the number 3 employer in the entire area.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you still have to have the DA cards for every one of those employees.
For sure, DA cards, and then we're paying $12 an hour to start with full benefits, and
so at 300 employees at $500 a piece, that's $150,000.
Yeah.
Just right there, just to have these employees walk into the door.
Yeah, and you can imagine we have a fair amount of turnover just because it's the industry. It's hard. People think it's sexy. They want to work in the cannabis industry.
It's a farm.
It's a farm. And it's hard work, and when it's summer, it's hot out there, and
and when it's winter, it's cold out there.
Exactly. So we have a fair amount of turnover, and you don't get those $500 back.
Yeah, exactly. But you get the complaints on Indeed and everything else. And do you find some of the you were a corporate attorney before getting into the cannabis industry. Are you finding the cannabis industry has more complainers, higher expectations? Because I mean, as staff MMJ Herbal Risings, that's what we do. We certify and train people to work in the industry.
Yeah.
And staff MMJ helps place them.
Yeah.
So I see it a lot when I don't get them a job. I get a lot of feedback. A lot of our reviews are, I didn't get a job, fuck them.
Right.
We help you. You have to do some initiative. You have to get off the.
You still have to be employable.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
So once they make it to you, then
Right.
I still see the same type of people coming in and say, "Fuck this place. They don't care about us." Blah blah. But are you doing the job you're supposed to be doing? It comes down to that person.
Yeah, and I do think that like I said, I think there are a lot of people that were patients or consumers and decided, hey man, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna work in the industry, and then you take away the veneer, and it's like it's just a retail job or it's just a farm job, and it's hard
you have
work.
A boss.
And, you got a boss.
Yeah.
You got to show up on time, and you can't be inappropriate with your coworkers. And
you haven't had a lot. Are you having it more in the cannabis industry?
Well, I don't know if it's any more or less. I think it's just a matter of the fact that it's a new industry, it's a startup industry, and I think there's a certain number of people that won't work in the industry, period, just for whatever the stigma they still have or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the labor pool is a little narrower to start with.
I gotcha. So a little creepier.
Well, and I think early on, small businesses, startup. Maybe people are trying to be a little bit more lax and more understanding, but now you've got companies with $1 billion market caps and 2,000 employees. So
it's intense. Now you saw it come from the first one being organics, being individually owned, to now like MedMen and Cureleaf. You said you got your meds and Cureleaf and other places. these are some big, like MedMen coming in from. These are national companies coming
Yeah.
in to the state. How do you feel, being an individual from the state,
Yeah.
and then seeing these corporates coming?
Boy, it's been really interesting to watch. I mean, the trajectory that this industry has taken just in the last 9 months to a year has been crazy. I mean, it's been less than a year that Harvest and MedMen went out really public, around a year. And, but we're already to the point where, MedMen's in trouble now, right? I mean, they expanded so quickly that they're having trouble, just having enough capital to feed their machine.
Oh.
So, it's, I think that you may not see MedMen in Arizona for much longer.
That's interesting. That I kind of feel, I understand, because like, when the tourist season was good for us last year, we went out and looked at other spots to open up, and then the tourist season went down for us this year, and we still have those other spots opened up. And I definitely feel their pressure. When you expand like that, that's not all the time.
Exactly.
You gotta,
And then when you're doing it as a public company and your stock's on the rise, it's real easy, right? I can go make a deal with you for stock, and you're gonna say, "Hey, I'll take that instead of cash because it's getting worth more and more every day." Right. But the converse of that, when that stock is going down, then you're in real trouble. You can't raise capital. It's hard to make acquisitions, and you got to hope you got enough capital to execute on the plan that you have.
I can't imagine being at a big level like that. That's gonna be really tough, especially having shareholders and board meetings and.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be tough pressure for their CEO and their board.
Investors have a very short memories.
What'd you do? Yeah, it's that green line.
Exactly.
It's the green or red today.
What is when they're looking at their balance sheet every quarter, and especially at the end of the year when it's time to start buying your kids presents.
I see it. And that's the time of year that the cannabis industry usually starts to dwindle down a little bit, because we all got harvest coming in and everything. Everybody's got sitting flush.
Right.
So now everybody's trying to sell it, but it starts. Nobody wants to buy it right now.
Right.
Because everybody's got it. So I definitely have seen that year after year. This time of year, it's the toughest time for the cannabis industry, because everybody's got marijuana right now.
So we think we've seen a lot of consolidation in the Arizona market, particularly because it's a great, well-established, well-regulated, well-run market that's worth a lot of money, that's about to go wreck. And so you saw these companies coming in and trying to make acquisitions. I think you're done with that for a while.
That's going to stop for a little bit,
because
at least till summertime.
Until the market turns around, and when I say market, I mean public, Canadian public market, because that's where all these companies trade now, right? That's where they all went public. That's where they all got their money.
And all those Canadians come down here right now.
You're right.
So it's crazy, because we have a CBD dispensary, so we see them in our stores because they can't go get their actual cannabis.
Right.
As soon as that goes legal, I'm going to stop seeing them.
Right.
That's the thing, is these they're trying to get their marijuana, because they're used to just going into anywhere and buying it.
Right.
And so as soon as that happens, Arizona's going to be really, really flush with Canadian cannabis money.
Right.
I'm telling you.
And it's funny. It's the other way around. Like I'm going up to British Columbia to ski in after Christmas. And I'm like looking up the dispensary, and I can't buy anything but flour up there. I can't buy any of my normal, things that I like. So
that's what they want. They want brownies and flour here. That's what they want. But which we have the hemp flour. Ours comes from Nevada. We haven't had any Arizona stuff.
Yeah.
But we have some pretty potent stuff coming from Nevada, like 24-25% CBD.
CBD. Wow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I had one of just a CBD only joints. It was all right. Yeah.
The joints usually don't be the best, but our flour actually looks like cannabis flour.
Yeah.
It smells. It's got terpene profiles.
Yeah, I was in a smoke shop the other day picking up some pipe cleaner in a new bowl, and I was like, "There's a whole wall of flour, like a damn dispensary."
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's all CBD flour.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there was a big bust in New York where they busted all those pounds, and it was all hemp flour, because you can't tell the difference unless you actually test it nowadays. And some of it, and that 0.3 is really important.
Well, and the thing was is that all law enforcement tests, they were all it
THC,
was designed was the presence of THC,
which
right?
it's there.
Yeah, not the quantity.
Yeah, so that's very. It's gonna be interesting the next couple of years how that levels out or what happens.
Well, I think I've seen a few prosecutors in a couple states say, I'm not charging anything anymore because it's going to be too hard for me to prove the difference.
Yeah. Definitely see that.
But here's a secret for everybody: it's the same plant.
It is. It's just the THC content. Right? That's all it is. Yeah. And now they're getting CBG plants. I've seen some CBG stuff from the same farm coming out. It's like 3 times more price wise right now because it's new, but the CBG is like 20%.
Interesting. Really? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, we're gonna see some really interesting things happening with these hemp farms. Speaking of hemp farms, I know
Yeah.
being outdoor, you guys don't want hemp growing around you too much, huh?
Right.
It's a lot of the seeds coming in and stuff. Now, I saw an article that Copper State put out, was a part of a while back ago, talking about trying to keep the hemp farms away from the outdoor grows. But isn't the jet stream, isn't just carrying cannabis pollen around right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly heard things like it could go up to 10 miles, 5 miles, 3 miles.
I heard
I don't know what the
Colorado-
right answer is, but
We got Colorado pollen in the air. That's what I heard.
maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard 10 miles is the furthest I've heard.
Really?
It
Okay.
could functionally travel and still pollinate.
So
a
you
plant.
really want to be within a 10-mile bubble? Is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
we would like to have nobody growing male hemp plants within 10 miles of us for sure.
Has that been possible? Have you?
So the town of Snowflake worked with us to pass an ordinance.
Okay.
I think we're pretty protected, but
So
you
they said
never
yes to
know.
cannabis, no to hemp.
yeah, ironically, yeah.
Well, that's good. What they said yes to was Copper State.
Yes,
And that's-
basically, they said we've got this asset. It's employing a lot of the people in the town, and it wouldn't make sense to jeopardize it. So
That's good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
and it's there's some farmland up there, but it's not like it's central Arizona.
You
or
really
anything
need
like
an
that.
indoor greenhouse like what you guys have.
Yeah,
to make
because it
really
does
work.
it does snow,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And it gets really hot too.
Yes.
Yeah, so you-
yeah, I mean, we can have like 60, 70 degree temperature swings in a day.
Yeah.
Easy.
And that will stress a plant out.
Right.
Yeah. You talk about seeds. You don't need a jet stream for that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So have you guys seen the quality of your plants increasing over the time? Are you guys getting
sure,
some good
yeah.
good quality employees with that too, or are they both growing together? Or is
Yeah. I think we're finally in a really nice sweet spot. It was such a challenge. First of all, it's a facility that needs 200 people to run it, right? Then you need somebody that can manage 200 people.
Yeah.
Then you need somebody that maybe has some experience with large scale commercial agriculture. But then you got to find somebody that knows the plant, right? So trying to fit all those pieces together, and then get those people to move to Snowflake, Arizona, if they're not already up there,
Right. Yeah.
it was a real challenge. But now we got a great CEO that comes from a consumer packaged goods background, lots of branding, lots of retail. Then we've got a facility manager that was in nutraceuticals that is, capable of managing a 200, 300 person, industrial facility, which this is. And now we got a guy from Northern California, Randall, that is just, he's a plant guy, and
That's cool.
it's awesome. And to see those elements are starting to come together. The flower that's coming out in the next few weeks is looking beautiful.
That's awesome.
And then the DNA stuff on top of it's just going to be really cool.
That's really cool. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But
check
yeah,
it out.
man, we faced our challenges. Just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You gotta not paying a little attention, and you
Yeah.
lose a room to seeds. I mean, it
That's
happens.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
So now that turns into biomass for you guys
for
usually.
sure. Yeah.
Now-
We'll extract it and put it into distillate.
Question for you, as an attorney for the cannabis industry here. Usable marijuana. That's what the deal is. So
Yeah.
this isn't usable marijuana. We vape that, right?
Was that made out of flour?
Yeah, I vaped all that flour. I bought it at 2.5 ounces at a time, and then I dump it out. I'm not using this anymore.
No, that would be no longer usable. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I dump alcohol into
So that's
that.
already been vaped.
Right, that's
yeah.
already been vaped. This
Yeah.
is the trash.
Right.
But I'm gonna dump alcohol into this,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna extract whatever's left in there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna turn that into a shatter.
Yeah.
Now is that usable marijuana?
Yes. As soon as you make it into it, it does become usable. In my
Okay.
opinion. Yeah.
So, but this right here in its state is not used.
That's correct.
So same with biomass, right?
I believe that is accurate. Yes.
So if you were to give me
don't
20 pounds
rely on that legal opinion, but
But
that would be my opinion
for this
yes.
conversation and this demonstration purposes,
Yeah.
if you were to give me 20 pounds of biomass,
Yeah.
I can't smoke that. That's not
Right.
usable.
It's not usable. Right. And by the definition of the law, it's not usable.
Right.
If it's,
So I
if
can
it's
have that.
trim, right?
Right. So, but
Yeah.
if I turn that biomass
Non-flour.
into 2.5 ounces of shatter at a time,
Mm-hmm.
that's still within my legal limits, right?
Yeah, so yes, I do believe I that is the interpretation that I would take. I'm certain that there are folks in law enforcement that would take a different interpretation. DHS, I think, is trying to figure out exactly
That's
how
'cause-
to deal with this. And the Supreme Court case was not 100% clear. But yes, my belief is that if you're making something out of unusable marijuana, then you make it into usable marijuana. That's when you calculate the 2.5 ounces.
Okay, so now let's go to the new really they're trying to do.
So a gram of concentrate is a gram of concentrate.
That's what I say. And that's what everybody should be doing. But what they're trying to do is say a gram of concentrate is like 4 grams of flour, 8 grams of flour. It's starting to get pretty up there.
Well, so that's who's the they, right?
Well,
Certainly,
some dispensaries have actually implemented this for like a short amount of time.
And I think they were maybe overreacting.
Yeah, I definitely think they were overreacting
and getting some bad advice, maybe. But this all comes from the Jones case, right? The Supreme Court of Arizona said, the concentrates are legal. Which first, yay, thank you, Supreme Court. The courts have done a very good job of protecting this program. But then in a little like an aside almost where they had no reason to state it, they basically said, well, how much concentrates is allowed? It must be the amount that you can make out of 2.5 ounces of flour. They made no opinion as to what that ratio was, and they also made no opinion about making something out of something that wasn't flour
and what the process is, and because some processes are less, some processes are more, etc. So. That's a really big concern of mine, but also there's an edible portion of this concern. When I go to different dispensaries, sometimes 100 milligrams is 1/10 of a gram, which I think it should be, and other times 100 milligrams is 1 gram. Sometimes it's 3 grams, because on the package it says it took 3 grams to make this fucking product.
Yeah.
And they put 3 grams on my deal for 100 milligrams.
Yeah.
And that really hurts me as a patient.
Yeah. Yeah. It is unfortunate. And then again, I think a lot of it comes down to what you're making the distillate out of, right? If you're making it out of flour, then arguably maybe you've got to report that.
But
right?
that flour now is no longer usable.
Right.
And
exactly.
You
if you're making it out of something other than usable flour, right?
But even if you are making usable flour, what's left is no longer usable, right?
Right, that's what I mean. That's
still
by
something
definition
there.
not usable.
And there's still something there, though.
Right.
There's still a weight.
Yeah, there's still THC in there.
Well, there's just a weight to that flour.
Yeah.
And you have that.
Yeah.
You didn't give that to me when I bought this.
Right.
So you can't charge me for that flour. You can't.
Right.
So unless you're giving me the trash too, don't put it on my limit.
I like that. That'd be good for a T-shirt.
Yeah. So give me the trash and keep it off my limit. that's my. I just wanted to get you as an attorney. We get your opinion on that while you were here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a gray
free
area,
legal advice,
and definitely this is not legal advice, but the bottom line is just don't drive around with more than 2.5 ounces of concentrate.
So don't take this out of the house.
Right.
Because it's hard to prove. Yeah, I mean, well, the 2.5 ounces of concentrate, but still, even you're still saying 2.5 ounces of concentrate,
or whatever amount 2.5 concentrate could be made from 2.5.
Well,
ounces
that's the whole thing, because that's only 2.5 grams, really.
It depends. Depends on the process, right? Yeah. But I don't know too many people that are making concentrates or edibles out of usable flour, right? Because the usable flour, that's the highest premium product.
That's what
that
you
we
want,
have, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that we make the most margin on. It's what we want to sell.
You don't have to do anything to it. You put it in the bottle, you sell it. It's done.
If it was usable, we would sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So that's my opinion. I really hope that usable flour sticks to marijuana buds and not the edibles, not the concentrates, not the drinks.
Yeah,
the actual marijuana.
I think that's where
buds.
it's headed. Yeah,
and not the leaves, not the trim. We're not talking about if I go and buy trim from a dispensary, that goes against my limit. But should it?
Shouldn't. No.
Yeah.
No,
So,
according to the act, it's not usable.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely. But I'm going to use it.
Right.
But I'm not going to use that actual. I'm not going to use it for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something to it.
Are there people selling trim in the dispensaries? I haven't seen.
There
that.
used to be.
Did they?
Yeah. They don't anymore, huh?
No, it's too valuable. On the open
nowadays.
market, right?
But before, like Arizona Cannabis Society, they used to have a good trim I used to buy.
Gotcha.
Because it was just edibles.
Right.
So
it'd be interested to see when recreational or not recreational, when adult use passes in November, if dispensaries are going to start selling plants.
So you're for sure?
Oh yeah,
So
that's going to pass.
I've seen dispensaries sell plants. Yilo's sold plants.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. At least I think they still do.
Yeah.
But they sold them for juicing.
Oh, okay.
So you could actually grow flower on them,
Interesting.
but you could have the plant.
Right.
Because it wasn't
That
usable
seems
marijuana.
very inefficient.
Yeah. Well, they're selling the plants for $20 a piece to juice.
There you go.
So yeah, the implication was not juicing. I'm assuming, but whatever. They were actually getting plants to the patients, which I'm all for. If you can find a loophole in a gray area, patients need plants.
Right.
So go for it. But if you're giving that patient, I don't know, if you're putting that patient in danger by giving them,
Right. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
I certainly, look. I mean, we all stand on the shoulders of pioneers that broke the laws for years to make sure we had access to this, right? And there were people that were risking their lives to make sure that people had medicine that made themselves feel better.
Sure.
And then you also get to the point where it's like, somebody's giving you bad advice to make some money, and they're pushing those boundaries because because it's profitable, right? and then you get people in danger, because you know what, there's no profit in the world that's worth your freedom, right?
Well, that's the ultimate profit. I mean, there's people making profit off of your freedom now. If they put you in jail, they're gonna make money off of it. That's the unfortunate thing. That's probably why prohibition has taken so long, is because there's a lot of profit in busting cannabis patients.
One of my fun stories is I was on the way to DC on a flight to lobby for the National Cannabis Industry Association, right? It was lobby days. We're going to go around, meet the senators and the representatives, and I was on the same flight as like half of Arizona's congressional delegation, and one of the congressmen was sitting up in first class with a lobbyist from the Corrections Corporation of America, private prison lobbyist. So here I am, the weed lobbyist, the senator, and the prison lobbyist on the same flight.
That is amazing. So he took his pills, but you had your edibles, right?
Yeah, right. The times they are changing, my friend, slowly but surely.
That's crazy, but that's why you were there, to make sure they are changing, man.
Yeah,
it's good that people like you actually said, okay, I went to school, I passed the bar, I'm good, I got my degree, I'm doing this thing, but I'm gonna do it for patients, I'm gonna do it for people. And that's a big step, man. You could be doing it for a lot of things. You could be doing slip and falls. You could be doing a lot of other things with your knowledge and your skills.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it just it worked out well timing wise, and obviously I was a patient consumer before that, and so it was something I definitely believed in. I've always found that I do my best work when I'm doing something that I care about.
Right.
It's been a trip.
Well, that's cool, man. I definitely appreciate you coming out and making the time.
Man,
talk
my pleasure.
To us. Is there anything that you want to cover that we didn't cover? I know we talked about the legalization a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to give your 2 cents on Arizona legalization?
Sure. I've been working on this. This is my white whale, right?
Okay.
It's like the last thing I really want to accomplish.
Call you Ishmael.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. The last thing I really want to accomplish is make sure Arizona legalizes cannabis for adult use.
Okay.
And last time we came awfully close, and I tell you, I didn't get out of bed for 2 days because I put my heart and soul and pocketbook into that initiative.
So that was the one where you closed the blinds, turn off the lights.
Exactly.
It
was brutal. And the hardest part about it for me, honestly, was the disunity in the community. Right. Yeah. And here I am. I'm getting lambasted and accused of all sorts of shit. And it's like, man, I'm a consumer. I'm a patient. I've been working my ass off for you. And here I am being attacked by you. It was something I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when it lost, it was just, magnified. So I would just put out a plea that we stay unified this time around. And look, there's no such thing as a perfect law. I can tell you that. They say there's 2 things you never want to see being made: law and sausages. Because what goes into them is it's a crazy process.
Right.
What comes out sometimes, sometimes it works, but you don't want to see what's going into them. And the point being is there is no perfect law, right? But there is the law that moves us further down the road from where we need to be.
Yes.
And right now, any amount of cannabis in Arizona is a fucking felony.
Yes.
A seed, a leaf, a resin from your pipe. If you are not a card holder, you are a felon.
Right.
And a felony can drag around with you for the rest of your life. It can limit your employment options. It limits your housing options, limits your ability to go to school and take loans, go into the military, vote, all sorts of things that really we as a society are paying the cost of that every single day in unfulfilled potential, in criminal justice, or in criminal enforcement, in prisons. We pay these costs, and the costs of prohibition are enormous, and they're human, and we need to stop them. So any law that gets us past that is worthy of your vote. There's going to be a couple other attempts to change, to do something at the legislature to add more licenses. okay, good luck. I wish you the best. I've been down there at the legislature for a long time. I can tell you they don't listen to logic a lot. So that's not going to be likely to happen. So I would just say everybody unify behind the initiative we got. And
that's the Smart and Safe initiative.
Smart and Safe Arizona.
And there are a couple other ones that are starting to pop up now.
Yeah, so there's always, I mean, you can go on the Secretary of State's website, and there's always a million initiatives filed.
Right.
It's getting the signatures to get it on the ballot that's the hard part, right? I mean, we need something like 350,000 signatures this time, which means you really need 400,000. And because of the laws that the legislature has passed to try to keep initiatives off the ballot, those signatures have to be perfect, or else they're going to get thrown out.
Yeah.
So that's $1 million effort just to get on the ballot.
Just for the people on the ground,
Exactly.
just to get
Just to have the privilege of being able to vote on it is easily $1 million, and that's not even counting all the lawyer time. You try to draft the thing and defend the thing when the Republican legislature tries to boot it off like they would every time. So it's an enormous undertaking, and at the end of the day, come July, we are only going to have one thing. We're going to have one initiative. It'll be the Smart and Safe initiative, and we all need to get behind it and vote in November. Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, that's definitely a great opinion on it, because coming from a legal standpoint, too, I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about, people. So definitely listen to what Ryan's saying. Get out there and vote. Register to vote now. If you're not registered, definitely get out there and register, because this is a big part of your ability to vote in the future. If you're not registered to vote now and you don't vote for this initiative and you get caught with cannabis,
for sure,
you're not going to vote next time.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So.
Politics either you participate or it happens to you.
Yeah.
So it's up to you.
Yeah, I agree, man. I definitely feel like if you have something to say about this initiative and you didn't vote, you shouldn't be saying anything about
Absolutely,
it.
I agree.
Very cool, brother. Well, anything else we should cover about Copper State or?
Yeah, man,
Ryan
get out
Hurley?
there, try Copper State. We got some great deals going on with Good Things Coming and Moxie, and check out our new dispensaries, Soulflower. Yeah, they're beautiful. You'll love them.
Soulflower, where's that at?
We got one at McClintock in the 202, right next to Big Surf.
Okay.
And then the other one's at 99th Avenue in Thunderbird out in Sun City.
So there's one not too far from here.
Yeah, you got
everything's far from here, but in the general facility.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, I got you, bro. Well, cool. And the brand of cannabis you guys carry, is it Copper State or is it what?
Yeah, so we wholesale flowers, Copper State. We're going to be doing the DNA strains here pretty soon.
So they will say DNA on them?
Yeah, they'll say DNA powered by Copper State.
Oh, so we'll see. Okay, awesome, brother. Very cool. Well, keep on trucking, and I appreciate you coming out and making the time. And
thanks for the Blackberry Kush.
Yeah, man, we'll hit it again. We'll some fresh bag off air, so it's not all crinkly on the mic here. But yeah, brother.
Right
awesome.
on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.